Here we go. Welcome into Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope all of Philadelphia is having a fantastic week. NBA draft coming up on June 23rd, and the Brooklyn Nets have deferred their selection in the first round following the James Harden Ben Simmons trade back to the Philadelphia 76ers. So now the Sixers own the 23rd overall pick in June's NBA draft. So coming up on today's show, going to take a look at the top 5 prospects I think Philadelphia should target with that selection in the first round. We start off with E.J. Liddell, the forward out of Ohio State. For me, this is a really good player, and when he elected to go back to the Ohio State Buckeyes this past year, really turned up as a junior. And each year that he was playing with Ohio State, really big improvements to his all-around game, both on the offensive end, with him being down low, post player, stretching his game out to the three-point arc, but he's also made some monumental strides on the defensive end of the floor as well. You look back 2 years ago and you see the numbers here: 16 points per game, less than 7 boards, more than a block, 47% shooter, 34% from three. He could have elected to go to the NBA draft, probably would have been a second-round pick. Instead, he goes back to a really good Ohio State team and has a marvelous season. All of the numbers jumped up because he was in the lab putting in that work. 19.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2.5 blocks per game, which is really impressive because he's not the tallest guy. I think he's going to be a forward at the NBA level, played some small ball 5 here and there, but I think of him kind of as a more athletic Grant Williams. He already has the wing 3 down. Grant Williams had to develop that corner 3 over time, but the shooting splits for E.J. Liddell, really impressive. 47% shooter, around 40% from beyond the arc. This is a guy who I think can come in right away and help a playoff contender as a rotational piece coming in off the bench, and then you build with him over time. How valuable has Grant Williams been for the Boston Celtics? That's the type of game that E.J. Liddell has, and he has some of the intangibles that Williams has as well. Championship pedigree, and a guy who can really do it all on the floor. A player who I would love the Sixers to take at 23. I also think he fulfills a position of importance on this Sixers roster. So I want to ask you, a lot of you watching right now are probably like, we don't need a forward, we don't need a front court player. How would you gauge where the Sixers roster is at, and which position do you want Philly to target? Type G for guard in the comment section, W for wing, or F/C if you want a big man. We're trying to set the record for the most comments on a Sixers video on today's show, so I want to hear from all of you down below in the comment section. Next draft target to get to is Christian Braun out of Kansas. Really helped the Jayhawks, led by Bill Self, to the national championship game, and thought he played really well in spurts against Villanova. Jay Wright, can't believe he retired. If Doc Rivers ever leaves the Sixers, by the way, I think Jay Wright would be a phenomenal addition and replacement for him. But anyway, let's go back to Christian Braun here, who, like E.J. Liddell, made a lot of improvements from 2 years ago to this past year and fine-tuned some elements of his game. He's really athletic, has some excellent size. I really like his bounce. Really good defensive player who can guard and play multiple positions. You look at his numbers from last year, pretty solid, right? And I think he can continue to grow and be a better offensive player. But I like what I saw last year with Kansas. 14 points per game, 6.5 boards. He's a really good rebounder for his size. A steal per game, little less than a block per night as well. And the shooting stroke, I think, can translate to the NBA level. 39% from downtown last year for Christian Braun. That maybe can get better, even though the distance is greater at the NBA level, because I do like the shooting for him. Now, when I scout Christian Braun, he's 6'6" with some bounce like I talked about. Last year, was able to play 4 positions for Kansas. And I think in today's NBA, you need to have positional versatility with all of the switching that goes on, both offensively and defensively. He has that corner 3 down. I think he can work that three-pointer to straightaway and from the wings where he needs to be a little bit more consistent. He can really defend and has upside as a defender with the three-point shot. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's going to be a prototypical 3-and-D guy. One of the prospects that we're talking about on today's show is a 3-and-D guy. I'm not sure I'm going to label Christian Braun as that, but like E.J. Liddell, I think he can help a championship-worthy team in year one with his athletic intangibles, his overall game, then his experience at the college level, helping lift Kansas to that natty. Name a prospect you want the Sixers to target. Is it any of the players that we're breaking down on today's show, or is it somebody else? You let me know and shout them out down below in the comment section. We move forward with Kennedy Chandler, the point guard out of Tennessee, who can give you spark plug plays as an off-ball guard as well as a point guard. What's funny is that when I watch Kennedy Chandler ball, and he did some really impressive things for Tennessee last year, he reminds me so much of Tyrese Maxey. Now, I understand the trepidations you might have in bringing in another undersized guard in Chandler because Maxey's a little bit undersized as well. Maxey can be a future superstar, in my opinion, in this league. You want him as a starter. But one of the big points of emphasis for Philadelphia this offseason has to be improving the bench. And if Kennedy Chandler can be your backup point guard and give you a level of play that's similar to Tyrese Maxey, breaking defenders down off the dribble, having that wiggle, having that burst, creative when finishing around the rim, it would help the Sixers bench unit a lot. Clean shooting stroke, creative passer. He's a little bit short, 5'11", 5'10", but a 6'5" wingspan, so he's able to deflect some balls in the passing lanes. And he's able to deflect some of those passes as well, which leads to turnovers. Ball, such a funny word, right? And I think he can give the Sixers a lot of pop off the bench. As for what he did last year, nearly 14 points per game, 4.5 dimes, 46.5% from the field, and about 38% from three. And again, when I evaluate these NBA draft prospects, I'm looking for a clean stroke, not something clunky like Matisse Thybulle has right now and like he had coming out of Washington. That's why a lot of people were concerned about that three-point shot going to the NBA level. If it's clean, then I think it translates and you can improve upon your shooting percentage when it comes to taking some three-point shots. If you're enjoying our content here on Philadelphia 76ers Now, as we're right around our 1-year anniversary of launching this channel, closing in on 7,000 subs, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video if you like everything that we've been doing. But also, if you haven't subscribed, show me some support. Do so right now. Grew up in Westchester, went to Temple University. A lot of you do know that. A lot of you don't know, but I love talking about this basketball team, and I'm certainly passionate about the Sixers. NBA Finals continue to roll on between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. No better place to get your bets in than BetUS, our sportsbook partner and today's sponsor. You can get a 125% deposit bonus by going to chatsports.com/bet and enter the promo code CHAT125. We've flip-flopped between the Celtics and the Warriors being favorites in some of these games as well as this series. I'm going to stick by my prediction. I'm going to go with the Warriors in 7, although I think Boston matches up favorably across the board. I really do like Golden State's experience in the NBA Finals. Get your bets in. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code CHAT125. Two prospects left to chop it up and talk about. Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. He had a really impressive NBA draft scouting combine, and because of that, he's been vaulting up draft boards. Yes, the level of play last year at Santa Clara isn't great, right? But this guy is rising up draft boards because he's a really intriguing and fascinating prospect and a guy who gives you size, he gives you length, he gives you a three-point shot, and he gives you really good defense. And all of those skills are sought after at the NBA level. In the college ranks last year, 18 points per game for Jalen Williams. He connected on about 40% of his three-point shots with a lot of volume, more than 4 assists, and more than a steal. So he can really defend multiple positions, and even if he does lack a little bit of athletic pop, he makes up for it with a long wingspan, really good size, and his strides are really long as well. He's a late bloomer who still has a lot of potential. I think that potential is a little bit untapped, and playing at Santa Clara, able to show that he's a serious two-way threat. 6'6", 235 pounds, a good three-point shooter, and I think he can develop over time. Now, like Braun and Liddell, I'm not sure he's going to be able to impact games year one, but you can develop him a little bit. Reminds me a lot of OG Anunoby, who now is a guy who's giving the Raptors 17 points per game and excellent defense on a night-in, night-out basis. I want to put you to the test next in the comment section right below me. Where would you rank the Sixers roster among all teams in the NBA? 1 to 30 teams in the NBA soon. I think there will be 2 more in Las Vegas and Seattle. But for the point of this exercise, we're ranking the Sixers from 1 to 30. Fascinated to see what you all come up with in ranking that Sixers roster. Last prospect to touch on is Bryce McGowens out of Nebraska. A guy who I think a lot of people are sleeping on, and a guy who reminds me a lot of a little bit of a less bouncy Zach LaVine. He's a huge draft sleeper, man, and if he can figure out his three-point stroke, he could be a problem at the NBA level. 6'5", 181. So he has that wiry, thin frame. Needs to add a little bit of bulk and a little bit of size over time. Does have a really good handle for being 6'5". He can put the ball on the deck and has that little hesitation dribble, which can buy him some space to let it loose on a couple levels against the defense. Has a soft touch on his floaters, which is important because of that handle, his ability to get to the rack, the athleticism, and because his three-point stroke last year just wasn't all too impressive. Shade under 17 points per game. He was only able to knock down 27% of his three-point shots. So that is certainly a concern for him as his game gets taken up a notch to the NBA level. But something I also look for with guys who struggle from the three-point line, what is their free throw percentage? If they're comfortable shooting free throws, then I'm going to bank on them becoming more and more comfortable with working on their game and fine-tuning their skills as a shooter. He shot 83% from the charity stripe. That's a pretty good number. If you have a clean stroke there, if you're knocking down free throws at a pretty steady clip, can you expand your game out to the three-point arc? He's not afraid to shoot it. He just needs to knock down more of those shots from long range. So our 5 draft targets for the Sixers at 23rd overall: E.J. Liddell out of Ohio State, Christian Braun out of Kansas, Kennedy Chandler out of Tennessee, shifty point guard, Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara, and Bryce McGowens out of Nebraska. With that, I ask you this: who do you want the Sixers to select? Drop me a name or names down below in the comment section. I'm really happy that Brooklyn deferred this pick to Philadelphia because they need to build out this roster a little bit and improve that bench. They can do so with some rookies with that selection. Appreciate all of you for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe.